Hello and welcome to Tech Latest by Nikkei Asia, where we bring you the freshest updates from the technology sector in Asia. Every episode, one of our reporters from the region will be filling us in on the tech news on their radar, from semiconductors in China to space travel in Japan to startups in Indonesia. From Nikkei Asia's Tokyo headquarters, I'm Alice French. In this episode, I'm talking to our Taipei-based tech correspondent, Lauly Li, about her breaking report on Microsoft's scaling back of peripheral production for its flagship Surface products. Hi Lauly, thanks for coming on today.
Hi Alice, thanks for having me today.
So you reported on a really interesting scoop this week about Microsoft. Can you just give us a rundown of the news?
What I learned from several sources from the supply chain is that Microsoft is reducing the production of its Surface peripherals, like standalone keyboards and mouse. Microsoft is not a major player in the PC industry, given that it only ships some 6 million units a year. But it has always been very generous on spending resources in developing its Surface series in the past 10 years. So the symbolic meaning behind this move to scale back the peripherals is definitely bigger than the material impact on its business.
Right. So like you mentioned, we're in the midst of a sort of ongoing PC downturn right now. So do you see this move by Microsoft as being maybe the start of an industry-wide trend to scale back on PC production?
The PC industry, which we broadly refers to desktop computers, notebooks, and tablets, suffered a big decline of 12.5% to 453 million units last year. And it is expected to keep declining by a double-digit percentage this year, as there's a little signs of end-market demand recovery in the consumer electronics industry, including PCs, smartphones, and game consoles. So I think it is totally worth to see if other companies have similar moves to recentralize, reprioritize their resources to the higher return products.
Right, and that's a pretty big dip in demand that you just mentioned there. What's behind this worldwide downturn in demand for PCs? Because I understand that demand grew initially when the pandemic started, right?
Yeah, remember the unprecedented chips and component shortages a couple of years ago? The PC industry was one of the sectors that asked for more chips and components because of the skyrocketing demand at the time. Work from home, study from home, entertainment from home. The demand for a better commercial PCs, consumer PCs, gaming PCs was so strong in 2020 and 2021. But just when these PC makers continue to place orders that are bigger than they really needed, all of a sudden the Ukraine war happened. The PC industry witnessed a sharp decline worldwide. It's a completely different story.
Right, so I guess this is another example of how the Ukraine war has really been affecting every single sector. And how about hardware makers closer to home? Obviously, Microsoft is US-based, but are any tech companies in Asia making similar cutbacks?
Well, yes. The most notable one recently is TSMC, the world's biggest contract chip maker. It just cut its revenue guidance from mild growth to decline for the full year of this year. And this is really a chilling warning for the tech industry, as TSMC makes chips for Apple, Google, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, all the major chip developers you can think of. And the chips it makes goes into products like PCs, smartphones, servers, game consoles, and cars. So TSMC said the pace of the inventory digestion is much slower than it previously estimated. And that tells you something that the markets will have to brace for this tech downturn for longer than we previously expected.
For sure, this is definitely a topic that we'll want to keep up to date with as it unfolds. Now, are there any other tech stories from this week that you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
Sure. For this week, I strongly recommend Nikkei Asia has an exclusive interview with the European Commission Executive Vice President who talked about the EU's timeline to set up rules for generative AI, which is the tech behind ChatGPT.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Lauly. It's been really interesting. Hope that you'll come back on again soon.
Thank you, Alice.
You can read more of Lauly's reporting, along with a host of other stories about Asia's tech industry, on Nikkei Asia's website, asia.nikkei.com. And if you like what you hear, why not subscribe to our weekly Tech Asia newsletter, which will be delivered to your inbox every Thursday. While you're there, why not also subscribe to Nikkei Asia? We bring you the Asian business, politics, economy, and tech stories that others miss. Check the show notes for a link to sign up. And we're taking a break next week for Japan's Golden Week, so listen again in the second week of May for more updates on the tech trends that matter.